As the sun dipped below the jagged peaks, a solitary figure stood beside his car, stranded on a winding mountain road. The air was thick with tension, the silence of the forest broken only by the rustle of leaves. Just when despair began to creep in, a mysterious girl emerged from the shadows of the trees, her presence both enchanting and unsettling. With a knowing smile, she approached, ready to offer her assistance, but little did he know, this encounter would unravel secrets that would change everything. The mountain road coiled like a serpent through the darkened woods, glistening with the remnants of a relentless rain. The headlights of the black SUV struggled to pierce the relentless downpour, casting eerie shadows in the swirling rain. The wind whipped through the trees, its sound echoing eerily across the ridge. Alex Carter's fingers clenched around the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white under the glow of the dashboard lights. In the dim light of the back seat, his 7-year-old daughter Sophie lay curled beneath a blanket, her small frame trembling with fever, her breath coming in shallow, labored gasps. "Almost there, sweetheart," he murmured, his voice a soft caress, yet the truth hung heavy between them, a palpable deception they both recognized. A sudden jolt shook the vehicle, sending a surge of adrenaline through every passenger as uncertainty filled the air. The engine wheezed, sputtered, and finally fell silent, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. The SUV came to a halt on the narrow shoulder, enveloped by a sea of towering trees and a shroud of thick fog that seemed to whisper secrets of the unknown. Alex turned the key in the ignition, his heart racing with anticipation. Just once, twice, silence, nothing at all. His gaze fell upon the screen of his phone. Silence enveloped the air, a void where connection once thrived. No signal. "Great," he muttered, his fingers tangling in his rain-damp hair as the storm raged around him. Outside, the storm roared to life, its fury escalating with each passing moment. As he swung the door wide, a torrent of rain greeted him, drenching him to the core in an instant. "Stay inside, Sophie," he urged, glancing back with a mix of urgency and concern. "I'll try to catch someone's attention." Yet the road lay desolate, stretching into the unknown. Amidst the relentless downpour, the world around him was stripped bare. No cars, no cabins, only the towering trees standing sentinel. Yet it was the rising tide of panic swelling in his chest that truly consumed him. "Daddy," came a small voice, trembling with a mix of innocence and urgency. He pivoted sharply. Sophie leaned out the door, her eyes weighed down with fatigue, her skin a ghostly shade of pale. "A chill runs through me, seeping into my bones." He dashed back, wrapping the blanket around her with urgency, as if it were the only shield against the encroaching darkness. Her forehead ignited with heat as it pressed against his palm. She felt the heat consuming her, a warmth that spread through every fiber of her being. "We need help," he called out, his voice echoing into the void, unanswered. Amidst the relentless downpour, a glimmer of light emerged from the shadows. A flicker danced in the darkness, followed by a steady, unwavering glow that pierced the shadows. The beam of the flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating the path ahead with a flickering glow. Shadows danced ominously along the walls, and every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whisper of secrets long buried. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very night held its breath, waiting for the next move. A shadowy figure stepped out from the depths of the woods. A figure cloaked in a hooded poncho moved silently through the shadows, a bundle cradled protectively under her arm, while a flickering lantern cast eerie light around her. With determination in her stride, she navigated the treacherous terrain, her boots squelching in the thick mud, while her keen gaze pierced through the darkness cast by her hood. "If you linger here any longer, the girl's condition will deteriorate," she warned, her voice steady and unwavering. Alex stood tall, instinctively positioning himself between Sophie and the looming threat. "Who are you, really?" She was the sole soul within a 5-mile radius, the only one daring enough to offer you a chance to survive the night. He paused, caught in a web of uncertainty as he weighed the risk of trusting this enigmatic stranger. Just then, Sophie emitted a soft moan, drawing the woman closer, her intentions shrouded in mystery. "In a desolate expanse where the air crackles with an unyielding heat, there lies a sanctuary, a dry place that offers a flicker of warmth and the promise of life-giving water. You must leave this place. With a heavy heart, Alex nodded, his arms encircling Sophie as he lifted her close. The woman pivoted, her silhouette merging with the shadows as she beckoned them into the depths of the woods. The path twisted and turned, a slender ribbon weaving through towering pines and fragrant cedars, its surface slick with gnarled roots and glistening wet leaves. Alex trailed behind her, holding Sophie tightly against him, her small arms wrapped securely around his neck. She lay still, a fragile whisper of life in the shadows. After what felt like an eternity, a gentle glow emerged in the distance, beckoning with an otherworldly allure. A wooden cabin loomed amidst the towering trees, wisps of smoke spiraling from its chimney into the crisp air. The woman swung the door wide, her hand beckoning them inside with an inviting gesture. "Lay her on the cot by the stove," she commanded, her voice steady as she moved purposefully to ignite more oil lamps, casting flickering shadows across the room. With a careful touch, Alex lowered Sophie to the ground, his movements deliberate and tender. The moment he stepped inside, a wave of warmth enveloped him, carrying the rich aroma of burning wood, fragrant herbs, and a hint of something sweet that danced in the air. The woman peeled off her poncho, the fabric whispering as it fell away, and draped it carefully near the crackling fire, where the flames danced eagerly, casting flickering shadows around her. Her hair flowed like a wild river, slightly tangled, while her clothes, though simple, bore the unmistakable mark of care and cleanliness. She knelt beside Sophie, gently draping a soft wool blanket over her, cocooning her in warmth and comfort. With a fever burning within her, she whispered softly, "Is there any medicine available?" Alex's head swayed slowly from side to side, a silent refusal echoing in the depths of his gaze. "Absolutely not. My intention was solely to lead her to a place of tranquility." With a swift motion, she glided to the shelf, her fingers brushing against the cool surface before she emerged, cradling a small jar in her hands. In the quiet of the afternoon, a delicate infusion of elderflower and ginger tea beckons, its fragrant steam curling into the air like a whisper of nature's secrets. Each sip reveals a symphony of flavors, where the floral notes of elderflower dance harmoniously with the warm, spicy embrace of ginger, creating a potion that soothes the soul and ignites the senses. This enchanting brew invites. He stepped in between, determined to bring the fever down. "Hold on, what is that?" "It's secure, organic. For years it has been a steadfast companion." She locked eyes with him, a fierce determination in her voice. "You're not a doctor, and there won't be one around here tonight." He paused, a flicker of doubt crossing his mind, before retreating into the shadows. She perched next to Sophie, gently urging her to take a sip from the cup, the tension in the air palpable. Sophie stirred, her throat dry as she swallowed hard, a deep sigh escaping her lip. Her eyelids fluttered shut once more, surrendering to the pull of darkness. Alex stood still, his breath caught in his throat as he observed the unfolding scene before him. The woman rose to her feet, her gaze locking onto his with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "Fortune smiled upon you the moment I caught the sound of your engine sputtering to its last breath." "You live out here?" he asked, his voice laced with curiosity. "Full time," she replied, her voice steady as she set the empty cup down into the basin with a soft clink. "Luna," he said, extending his hand with a confident smile. "Alex Carter?" Luna's eyes flickered to his outstretched hand, a silent battle raging within her as she chose not to grasp it. "Rinse away the remnants of the day, then let the warmth of the towel envelop you. Your daughter requires your strength." He gazed down at his legs, caked in mud up to the knees, drenched to the core. In the dim light of the room, Luna had meticulously arranged a towel and a dry blanket in the corner, as if preparing for something significant to unfold. He crept toward them, each step deliberate, casting a furtive glance back at Sophie. Luna's eyes trailed after his, drawn into the depths of whatever secret lay beyond. "For the moment, she is out of harm's reach." He sank into the battered armchair, his fingers pressing against his temples, trying to ease the overwhelming tension. "I was attempting to grant her a moment of respite. She has been consumed by anxiety. The city thrums with a cacophony of sound." "No, man. A cell. The city thrums with a cacophony of sound. Luna knelt beside the flickering flames, her hands deftly stirring the embers as they danced in the night air. The silence enveloped him, a heavy shroud that pressed against his ears. "This place is quiet. Too quiet," he muttered, a shiver creeping down his spine. Her smile flickered like a distant star, barely illuminating the shadows around her. When you finally pause and catch your breath, the world around you reveals secrets you never expected to hear. He lifted his gaze, locking onto her eyes. In that fleeting instant, a connection ignited between them, an unvoiced comprehension that felt as tangible as the air around them. Outside, the storm unleashed its fury, while within the small cabin, a delicate sanctuary began to take shape. Morning light seeped through the wooden slats and delicate linen curtains, painting golden stripes that danced across the cozy confines of the small cabin. Alex shifted restlessly in the armchair, a dull ache radiating from his neck, a reminder of the uncomfortable slumber that had claimed him. He blinked, a moment of confusion washing over him as he struggled to grasp his surroundings. It was the intoxicating scent of cedar, mingled with herbs and the crackle of burning wood, that anchored him back to reality. He jolted upright. "Sophie, she's here," Luna's voice whispered from the shadows of the cabin, where the stillness of sleep clung to the air. Alex pivoted sharply. His daughter lay on the cot near the flickering fireplace, her cheeks no longer flushed, her breath deepening and steadying, a cool cloth gently resting on her forehead. Luna knelt beside the crackling wood-burning stove, her hands deftly stirring the contents of a clay pot, the warmth enveloping her like a comforting embrace. Her long hair was pulled back, and she glided through the space with the fluidity of someone intimately familiar with every corner of her world. "Her fever broke just after midnight," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the shadows dancing across the room. The tea worked its magic, drawing out the remnants of her struggle as she sweated profusely, each drop a testament to her battle. "Windows, one, or you. What's inside it?" Alex asked, his curiosity piqued. Elderflower, ginger, wild mint, willow bark. He frowned, the concoction swirling with secrets untold. "That isn't true medicine." Luna finally faced him, her gaze unwavering. It was tangible enough to cradle her into a deep, uninterrupted slumber. As Alex stood watch, "I understand the kindness of your shelter, but I must get her to a proper clinic. Time is of the essence." She needed to be examined by a doctor, undergo blood tests, receive IV fluids, anything but that forest soup. "Can you spot the road beyond? The looming signal tower, the flashing lights of an ambulance? So, perhaps you can trust that she's not in danger at this moment." Alex paced restlessly, his voice escalating with each step. "You just don't understand. For her entire life, I have woven a web of protection around her, meticulously crafting safety nets at every turn. I cannot afford to falter, not even for a moment." Luna brushed past him, her fingers grazing the edge of a wooden cupboard as she swung it open. With a deliberate motion, she retrieved 2 intricately crafted bowls, each one a testament to artistry and care. "Will you cling to your anger or will you embrace the promise of breakfast?" "I crave control," he whispered, his voice laced with desperation. Luna spun around with a sudden intensity. "Then you should have remained in your city, surrounded by your asphalt and blueprints." He stood motionless, caught in a moment that felt like an eternity. She pressed on, her voice steady and composed. "So you create cities, do you? Locations where lives unfold. I safeguard the untamed, allowing souls to reconnect with their emotions." Alex squinted, his gaze sharpening with intensity. "Spare me the lecture." Luna's expression remained unchanged, just as mine did. In the hushed embrace of a forest morning, they stood in silence, where 2 worlds were on the brink of collision. At last, Luna returned to the stove, her heart racing as she scooped the steaming porridge into the waiting bowls. "I crafted this cabin with my own hands," she declared, her voice steady and filled with pride. "Every morsel that graces my plate is born from my own hands, or exchanged through the whispers of the market. I exist beyond the hum of electricity, and I require no one's approval to place my faith in the earth beneath my feet." Alex's gaze fell upon the sturdy beams of wood, the artisanal furniture that spoke of craftsmanship, and the shelves brimming with dried herbs and intricately carved tools, each telling a story of its own. Is this truly how you exist? Was it a choice made willingly? Luna's lips curled into a smile, a glimmer of warmth lighting up her eyes. Indeed, not to flee from reality, but to immerse oneself in the vibrant corners of existence that still pulse with life. He ran his fingers over the nape of his neck, a gesture steeped in tension and unspoken thoughts. Are you truly unafraid in this wild expanse? Wolves or weather? No. Yet, a shadow of fear often looms over me when it comes to others. He was taken aback. What drives this question? What lies beneath the surface of that single word, echoing with curiosity and urgency? Why? The air thickens with anticipation, as if the answer holds the key to a deeper understanding, a revelation waiting to unfold. They perceive a world unlike any other, and yearn to transform it. He lowered himself into the chair, his gaze lingering on Sophie, just a breath away. Her tiny chest rose and fell in a serene rhythm, a gentle rise and fall that whispered of tranquility. I wasn't always a forest person, Luna confessed, her eyes glinting with a hint of nostalgia as she passed him a bowl. Once I called the city my home. I understand the frantic pace of urgency, the meticulous crafting of plans, the gnawing weight of anxiety. That's the moment I chose to walk away. Alex grasped the bowl, its contents tantalizingly close, yet he hesitated, the food untouched before him. What compelled you to linger? Her gaze pierced through him, delving deep into the very essence of who he was. One fateful day, a revelation washed over me. I could hear the whispers of my own thoughts once more. As Sophie stirred on the cot, both of them turned, their hearts racing with anticipation. Luna approached with purpose, kneeling beside her, her fingers gently brushing the cloth on her forehead as she assessed the situation. She will rise shortly. Perhaps a gnawing hunger lurks within. Her body's warmth gradually eased, and she began to rest more comfortably. Alex knelt in the dim light, his gaze fixed on his daughter as she lay peacefully asleep, the world around them fading into silence. I'm sorry I snapped, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. This is unfamiliar territory for me. Luna gazed at him with a tender intensity, her eyes reflecting a world of unspoken emotions. I understand. He cast his gaze around the cabin once more, the shadows dancing in the flickering light. Cut off from the world, isolated in silence, with no connection, no device, and no safety net. It feels as though your very existence hinges on trust. Exactly, she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence, as if the words themselves were fragile secrets meant only for the shadows. And what about you? You are a visionary, crafting towering cities that pierce the heavens, yet your feet remain forever anchored away from the earth below. Alex stared at his shoes, the remnants of yesterday's mud clinging stubbornly to them. Perhaps you're right, he murmured, a hint of uncertainty lacing his voice. With a steady hand, she rose and offered him a pristine towel, the fabric soft and inviting against the tension in the air. Perhaps, while you linger in this space, you might consider shedding your shoes. He offered a hesitant half-smile, as if the weight of the world lingered just behind it. The storm outside had finally relented, yet within the confines of the cabin, an unsettling energy began to awaken, hinting at secrets long buried. The earth trembled beneath them, the very walls around them seemed to breathe, and an unspoken question hung heavy in the air, a secret neither had the courage to voice. What if this pause was not merely a detour, but the dawn of an entirely new way to exist? On the third day, Alex succumbed to despair, surrendering any hope of locating a signal. There were no bars, no rescue trucks, only the relentless wind whispering through the trees and the distant chatter of birds, utterly indifferent to his frantic plight in the heart of the city. Sophie, however, had adapted with unsettling swiftness. She found herself barefoot more often than not, her once pristine pink sneakers lying abandoned near the door, untouched and forgotten. Luna crafted a small satchel from colorful cloth, scraps, a treasure trove of creativity. Each day, Sophie eagerly filled it with rocks, leaves, feathers, and countless other wonders, weaving tales around each item she collected, her imagination soaring with every find. Every find. From the porch, Alex's gaze was fixed on Sophie, who knelt by a moss-covered log, her focus intense. Luna was beside her, guiding her through the art of identifying wild mushrooms and tracing intricate patterns in the earth, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. Alex muttered to himself, a sense of disbelief washing over him. She doesn't even miss the iPad. He spent his mornings pacing, a restless energy coursing through him as he tried again and again to reach his assistant, his office, his inbox, each attempt more desperate than the last. Even with Luna's radio crackling with static, the mountain loomed above, an impenetrable fortress that cut off any hope of communication. Each failed attempt deepened his frustration, throwing him further off balance. Time was the only force at play in this place, and it moved without a care for schedules. That afternoon, as ominous gray clouds drifted across the sky, Alex trudged back from his futile journey to the road, its obstruction looming like a dark omen, a reminder of the despair that clung to him. As he crossed the threshold of the cabin, his eyes were drawn to the muddy footprints that marred the wooden floor, a silent testament to an unseen presence. Suddenly, a sudden sound broke the stillness, sending a chill through the air. "Sophie," he called, his voice slicing through the silence like a knife. She emerged from the kitchen, her cheeks aglow with a rosy hue, hands caked in rich, dark soil. "What is it, Daddy? What transpired to bring you to this moment?" he snapped. "You're cloaked in a shroud of earth." As I assisted Luna in planting lavender by the stream, her face lit up with joy. She remarked that my hands bore the marks of a gardener. Alex's voice surged, cutting through the air with intensity. "This is no place for games, Sophie. A potential danger, something hidden in the environment, could have caused harm, something unexpected or unforeseen." Her expression crumbled. Luna emerged from the shadows, her demeanor unruffled, a delicate streak of earth marking her cheek like a badge of resilience. "She was fine, Alex." She stood by my side. Alex spun around to face her, frustration etched across his features. "You should have confided in me. She is just 7 years old. What if something extraordinary unfolded?" Luna crossed her arms, a storm brewing in her eyes. "You created a vibrant city park, filled with interactive sculptures and splash pads, a haven for children to frolic freely. Yet, as your own daughter reaches out to touch a patch of dirt, a wave of panic washes over you." "She's not a blueprint," he snapped, his voice laced with frustration. "She's my responsibility, and I respect that," Luna declared, her voice unwavering. "Yet, perhaps what she truly craves goes beyond mere protection. Perhaps she craves connection," Alex thought, his gaze dropping, tension coiling in his jaw. "Do you truly believe I am indifferent?" "No," Luna said softly, her voice a soothing balm in the tense air. "Your concern runs so deep that it seems you've lost the ability to release your grip." Silence enveloped the air, heavy and unyielding. He stood there, lips sealed, a storm of thoughts raging behind his eyes. As she strode past him, her purpose clear, she reached for a towel and offered it to Sophie, who lingered in an uneasy silence, her gaze flickering between them. "Go clean up, little bird," Luna whispered gently, her voice a soothing melody in the quiet room. With a determined nod, Sophie slipped away into the shadows of the hallway, her presence fading like a whisper in the night. Alex let out a weary sigh, his fingers pressing against his temples, as if trying to ease the weight of the world resting upon them. "I never intended to play the villain." "You're not," Luna said. "You are a father, weary from the relentless pursuit of crafting a world impervious to shattering." Alex settled onto the edge of the chair, the flickering flames of the hearth casting dancing shadows around him. "I once believed that with every design I crafted, I could wield power over buildings, shape spaces, and even manipulate emotions." Luna crouched low beside the flickering flames, carefully placing another log onto the crackling fire. He fixed his gaze on her, pondering the consequences when the world expands beyond the confines of your carefully crafted designs. "You let it grow," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence that enveloped them. The flames danced and flickered, casting shadows that intertwined with their unspoken tension. As darkness enveloped the world, Alex slipped out into the night. the quiet house behind him holding Sophie in peaceful slumber. The stars blazed in the night sky, more radiant than he had witnessed in a lifetime. In the stillness of the night, darkness envelops the land, untainted by the glow of city lights or the hum of vehicles. Only the whispering wind and the rhythmic chorus of crickets fill the air, creating a serene symphony that beckons the soul to listen closely. Luna was already there, perched on the weathered wooden swing she had secured between two towering trees, the gentle creak of the ropes whispering secrets of the past. He stepped into her world. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "For what purpose? For allowing my daughter to feel the earth beneath her fingers, unbound by the need for permission." Luna smiled, her eyes shimmering with the glow of distant stars. "She stirred a memory within me, a fleeting echo of someone long past. Once I was a girl untouched by the chaos that now surrounds me." Alex reclined, his eyes fixed on the vast expanse above. "Returning was the last thing you ever desired." Luna confessed, "I returned once. 3 days was all I could endure." The weight of the concrete pressed down on me, stealing my breath as he nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement of the tension that hung in the air. "And you?" she inquired, her voice laced with intrigue. "If you were free to create without constraints, what vision would you bring to life?" He lingered in thought, the silence stretching as he weighed his options. A sanctuary where Sophie could dash barefoot across the lush grass, free from the constraints of the world. Luna chuckled softly. "Perhaps you are nearer to it than you realize." In the stillness that enveloped them, an unspoken tenderness began to bloom between them. The boundary separating man from architect, forest from freedom, started to dissolve into an indistinguishable haze. In that fleeting moment, enveloped by ancient trees that whispered secrets of the past, Alex felt a stirring within, a realization that perhaps, at last, he had discovered a solid ground upon which to build his dreams. Not with bricks, but with roots that intertwine and dig deep into the earth, anchoring themselves in a world that pulses with life. The storm surged forth, a dark harbinger, as night cloaked the world in shadows. The rain lashed against the cabin roof, a relentless barrage of tiny drums, while the wind roared through the trees, a wild and ancient choir echoing in the night. Within the dim confines, the fire danced weakly, casting shadows that flickered like whispers, while the lone bulb above sputtered, struggling to maintain its glow. Then everything plunged into darkness. Alex lingered by the window, his gaze locked onto the lifeless black screen of his phone, a silent void that mirrored the turmoil brewing within him. "No signal," he muttered, his voice barely rising above the eerie silence that enveloped him. Darkness enveloped the room, a heavy silence settling in as the last flicker of light vanished. Flawless, Luna's hands moved with purpose as she struck a match, the flame flickering to life before she brought it to the wick of the first candle. She watched intently as the wax began to melt, then reached for another, the air thick with anticipation. With a silent grace, she arranged them along the mantel, bathing the cabin in a warm, golden light that danced softly in the shadows. "It happens," she said, her voice steady, as if the tempest raging outside was merely an unwelcome visitor, destined to move on. Sophie tossed and turned on the cot, a sense of unease weaving through her dreams. Luna approached with quiet determination, kneeling beside her as she tenderly lifted the blanket, enveloping her in warmth and comfort. The small girl whimpered, her body twisting and turning in restless agitation. With unwavering resolve, Luna settled beside her, wrapping her arm protectively around Sophie's fragile form. As she started to hum, a low and soothing melody filled the air, one that Alex found utterly unfamiliar. Unassuming yet filled with warmth, like a lullaby whispered by the ancient trees themselves. Alex stood frozen, his gaze locked in place. In an instant, his daughter found solace, nestling into Luna's warm embrace. A profound tug pulled at the very core of his being. He had never witnessed Sophie in such a state of safety, so serene, not even in his presence. Luna remained silent. She maintained a quiet strength, offering comfort without expecting thanks. She cradled her close, as though destiny had woven their paths together from the very beginning. As Sophie succumbed to the embrace of deep, untroubled sleep, Luna propped herself up, her gaze shifting to Alex. "She's okay now," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. a fragile promise hanging in the air. He nodded, a tightness constricting his throat. With a deliberate grace, she approached him, the flickering light of the candle casting shadows that danced around them as she extended her hand, offering the flame that held the promise of warmth and illumination. In the kitchen, a treasure trove awaits, ready to be uncovered if we find ourselves in need. He grasped it, their fingers grazing against each other for a fleeting moment. It was a mere whisper of a touch, yet it ignited an indescribable fire within. They huddled by the flickering fire, the howling storm outside, unleashing its fury upon the world. The flickering candlelight wove a tapestry of shadows across the wooden walls, creating an intimate atmosphere that enveloped them both. Alex leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, captivated by the dance of the flickering flames. "You're different," he murmured, his voice barely breaking the silence that hung between them. "Many would have rushed to dial the authorities or urged me to retreat down the treacherous slopes." Luna's smile flickered like a candle in the dark, illuminating a sorrow that lingered just beneath the surface. Few dare to escape the shadows of their own existence. His gaze fell upon her, a flicker of astonishment igniting within him. She met his gaze, steady and unwavering. "You didn't bring your daughter up here merely to find solace from the clamor of the world. You brought her because deep down, something in you is weary of the chaos," he breathed out, his voice heavy with unspoken truths. "I believe that if I could craft the ultimate escape, all my worries would simply dissolve away." "What happens next?" It trailed behind me relentlessly, and she nodded with an understanding that sent chills down my spine. Alex reclined, his gaze fixed on the ceiling above, lost in thought. "My existence revolves around crafting environments for those around me. Vibrant parks, cozy homes, bustling plazas. Locations where souls converge, igniting a vibrant pulse of existence." Yet, there were moments when he halted, and in those fleeting instances, I found myself lost, struggling to remember what it truly meant to feel alive. Luna gazed intently at her hands, the weight of unspoken thoughts pressing down on her like a heavy fog. In the past, I immersed myself in the world of art, exploring the fluidity of watercolor and the vibrant possibilities of mixed media. I envisioned a gallery, a luminous sanctuary with soaring ceilings, where the melodies danced through the air all day long. "What transpired?" Alex inquired softly. "At the tender age of 20, I faced the shattering loss of my mother." The word hung in the air, heavy and foreboding, a shadow that loomed over every thought and moment. It whispered of battles fought in silence, of lives intertwined with uncertainty, and of the fragile thread that connects hope and despair. Each syllable carried the weight of countless stories, each one a testament to resilience in the face of an unyielding foe. Luna's voice flowed with a calm assurance, yet it carried a gentle whisper that seemed to wrap around the room. She was the sole soul who truly glimpsed the depths of my being. When she left this world, the colors faded from my canvas. I left it all behind and found my way here. I believed that enveloping myself in silence would be the balm to my aching soul. "Was it successful?" he inquired. She cast a fleeting look at the window, where a flash of lightning momentarily illuminated the darkened sky. "But in time, the forest revealed a different gift to me." "What is that?" There it was, an undeniable presence that filled the air, thick with anticipation and mystery. The pain lingered, a constant companion, yet in this place, I could embrace it without the facade of being fine. Alex's gaze locked onto her, piercing through the surface to uncover the depths beneath. In the delicate arch of her shoulders, in the resolute calm of her voice, he recognized a soul who had ceased fleeing long before his own journey began. "You possess great courage," he remarked. Luna arched an eyebrow, a flicker of intrigue dancing in her gaze. "What is it like to live without a dishwasher?" He answered with a choice of stillness. Silence enveloped the space once more, yet it carried no weight. The warmth enveloped everything, a genuine embrace that felt almost alive. The flickering candle between them cast long shadows, its flame dwindling as tension thickened in the air. Alex's gaze shifted toward her, a silent question lingering in the air. I've mastered the art of crafting stunning environments, yet a nagging doubt creeps in. Did I ever truly understand how to exist within them? Silence hung in the air as she hesitated, her thoughts swirling like a tempest within her mind. Then she spoke, her words reverberating like a haunting echo in the stillness. Perhaps the moment has come for you to create something entirely fresh. His gaze locked onto hers, a silent exchange sparking between them. Not a house, she insisted. Neither a park nor a cabin could be found. With a delicate touch, she pressed her palm against her heart. Perhaps it's time to begin the journey of rebuilding right here. The fire whispered secrets as it crackled softly between them. Alex's throat tightened as he swallowed, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Luna's voice trembled, barely rising above a whisper. That's harder than drawing blueprints. Perhaps it's time to put down the pencil and truly embrace the emotions within. Outside, the storm began to relent, the rain transforming into a gentle whisper against the earth. Within the confines of the room, two souls, who had dedicated their existence to mastering the chaos of their surroundings, found themselves in a rare moment of stillness. No longer seeking an escape, they began, for the first time, to embrace the art of remaining present. The morning sun emerged from behind heavy layers of drifting cloud, spilling a muted golden haze over the mountaintops. As Alex maneuvered the SUV along the serpentine road, the tires sang a relentless tune against the slick pavement. Anchored at last, a moment of stillness before the storm. Yet the smoothness offered no solace. The forest, lush and ancient, slipped deeper into shadows with every twist and turn. In the rearview mirror, the treetop danced with a haunting farewell, as if it were begging him, imploring him not to depart. The silence hung heavy between him and Sophie as they drove, each lost in their own thoughts, the world outside a blur of shadows and fleeting lights. The silence hung in the air, not heavy with tension, but rich with a sense of longing. Sophie clutched her stuffed raccoon tightly against her chest, the small, lovingly crafted toy that Luna had stitched together just hours before, radiating warmth and comfort in the dim light of the room. Its crooked smile and mismatched button eyes radiate a charm that eclipsed the personality of half the toys she had left behind in the city. Her gaze remained fixed elsewhere, avoiding Alex entirely. Her gaze was fixed elsewhere, far from the winding path ahead. She gazed out the window, her eyes wide, an unsettling silence enveloping her, a stillness that felt far too profound for a 7-year-old. At last, her voice shattered the silence that enveloped the room. How I long for the moments to stretch, to linger in this enchanting place just a little while longer. Alex's gaze flicked to her, a tightness coiling in his chest. I understand, my love, I feel the same way. Yet, Luna had not invited them to linger. She wrapped her arms around Sophie, pulling her close, and murmured something softly into her hair, words lost to Alex's ears. Then she turned to him, her hand lingering on his arm for a heartbeat, a quiet, unwavering connection, and whispered, "Just be safe. The journey stretches endlessly, yet certain trails inevitably lead homeward." And now that winding road had brought them to the foot of the mountain, where the city loomed ahead, vibrant and alive. A sense of unease hung in the air, as if the very fabric of reality had unraveled. As Alex swung the door open to their high-rise apartment, a rush of icy air enveloped them, a stark contrast to the warmth outside. It once felt like stepping back into the embrace of familiarity. Now it exuded an impersonal atmosphere, an over-sanitized appearance that made the space feel cold and distant. The polished floors shimmered under the soft glow of ambient light, while the sleek, sharp-edged furniture stood like sentinels in a world of minimalist decor, all pristine, untouched, and hauntingly unlived in. Silence enveloped Sophie, her lips sealed tight, as unspoken thoughts swirled in the air around her. With a quiet grace, she shed her boots, the damp soles leaving a trail of glistening prints on the hardwood floor as she vanished into the shadows of her room. Alex lingered behind, his feet rooted to the ground as the world around him faded into the distance. He stood frozen in the heart of the living space, his briefcase gripped tightly in one hand, eyes locked onto the sprawling skyline beyond the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, a skyline that once filled him with love and longing. The view once ignited a fire within him. Now, it enveloped him in a shroud of alienation, as if he were a ghost haunting the corridors of someone else's existence. As darkness enveloped the world outside, he sat down, determined to immerse himself in his work. He settled into his chair, the weight of anticipation heavy in the air, as he opened his laptop and summoned the intricate blueprints of the resort before him. The screen came alive with familiar lines and angles, each one meticulously measured and expertly rendered, drawing the viewer into a world of precision and artistry. Sleek towers loomed in the distance, their glass facades shimmering under the sun. Infinity pools stretched out like endless horizons, while private cabanas promised seclusion and indulgence. A luxury retreat was set to emerge, claiming the very ground where Luna's cherished cabin once stood, transforming the landscape into a realm of opulence. It was meant to be his crowning achievement. Everywhere you looked, his name would loom large, etched into the very fabric of existence. His firm would ascend to new heights, earning both prestige and acclaim. Yet, all Alex could see was the unforgiving concrete slicing through the roots, steel towering where wild lavender had once flourished, a wound poised to bleed. He reclined in his chair, letting out a deep breath, and pressed the power button with a deliberate motion. Silence enveloped the room, as the screen faded into darkness. He lingered in the stillness, his gaze locked onto the dark surface of the mirror, where his reflection stared back with an intensity that felt almost alive. Oh! For the first time, a shadow loomed over his heart, and pride slipped through his fingers like sand. As the days unfolded, Alex found himself sinking deeper into a chasm of disconnection. In the city, every sound pierced the air with an unsettling clarity, every chill bit deeper, and every sight seemed to leap out with an intensity that left no room for comfort. He felt the piercing screech of brakes and the relentless hum of elevators envelop him, as if he had emerged from a tranquil existence into a cacophony that demanded his attention. The walls of his apartment, once celebrated for their minimalist allure, now loomed over him, encasing him in a sleek, polished prison. Sophie had transformed as well. Once tethered to her tablet and lost in a world of streaming shows, she now turned her back on screens entirely. In the quiet embrace of the afternoon, she nestled on the living room floor, lost in a world of her own creation, where each stroke of her pencil brought to life trees swaying gently, mossy rocks cloaked in mystery, wild flowers dancing in the cool breeze, and birds soaring through an endless sky. Luna's face emerged in delicate pencil strokes, capturing her braid, her boots, and the way she knelt by the garden, each detail etched with care and reverence. Each night, Sophie drifted into slumber, her fingers tightly wrapped around the stuffed raccoon that Luna had lovingly crafted for her. In the quiet of the mornings, her first words danced in the air, not concerning breakfast or school. Questions lingered in the air, weaving through the garden's vibrant hues, the rich scent of firewood crackling nearby, and the delicate lavender patch that danced by the creek's edge. Alex struggled to immerse himself in his work, desperately attempting to summon focus, yet his creativity had slipped away like a fleeting shadow. The ideas emerged lifeless, lacking the spark of inspiration. What once ignited his passion now lay before him as lifeless forms stripped of their essence. He sat in the sterile conference room, nodding mechanically as words washed over him, decisions slipping through his fingers like sand. His thoughts wandered to serene streams and winding stone paths, where Luna's gentle voice and Sophie's laughter danced through the towering pines, pulling him away from the suffocating reality of the moment. On the fourth evening, Alex returned home under the cloak of night, only to discover Sophie on the balcony, cocooned in a blanket that engulfed her petite frame. With the sketchbook resting on her lap, the pages danced and fluttered, caught in the gentle embrace of the breeze. The air was thick with the mingling scents of exhaust and savory takeout, wafting from a nearby restaurant, creating an atmosphere that hinted at the bustling life beyond. "I can't stand it here any longer," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the skyline loomed like a distant memory. The air is thick with the acrid scent of plastic, a lingering reminder of something unnatural. Silence envelops the night, a stillness so profound that the absence of crickets echoes in the darkness. Alex sat beside her, the familiar ache in his chest, a haunting reminder of what was lost. "Do you long for Luna?" Sophie nodded, her gaze steady and contemplative. Amidst the crackling firewood, the stars shimmered above, each one a distant whisper of the universe's secrets. And how eerily silent it was. She hesitated for a moment, then continued, but not the lonely kind of quiet, the kind that wraps around you like a warm embrace. He traced her gaze to the shimmering lights of the city, a sprawling grid of ambition that seemed to stretch infinitely into the night. "You know," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It felt as if I had forgotten the very essence of breathing until that moment arrived." Sophie turned to him, her eyes wide and brimming with sincerity. "So what brings us to this moment?" Silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. He stood there, a storm of thoughts swirling in his mind, yet no words came forth to break the tension. But that night, he lingered in the shadows long after Sophie had slipped into her dreams, clutching a cold mug of tea in the stillness of the dark kitchen. A profound change stirred within him, not a fleeting thought, but a deep and unwavering understanding. The following morning, Alex stepped into the sleek, glass-paneled office of the resort development firm, the air thick with anticipation. He stepped into the room, met with firm handshakes, the rich aroma of espresso wafting through the air, and the warmth of eager smiles that promised untold stories. They huddled around the elongated conference table, anticipation crackling in the air as they awaited the unveiling of the project. Alex cracked open the sleek black folder of blueprints, his gaze locking onto the intricate lines that danced across the pages. After a moment of intense scrutiny, he snapped it shut, a weight settling in the air around him. "I can't move ahead with this project," he declared, his voice heavy with finality. The air in the room turned icy, a palpable tension hanging like a thick fog. "Excuse me," one of the partners inquired, leaning in closer, a glint of curiosity in their eyes. "I'm withdrawing," Alex repeated, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. From this moment onward, a voice cut through the tension, its weight palpable. "This is a multi-million-dollar contract, Alex. What transpired?" Alex pivoted towards the window, his gaze drawn to the world beyond. Amidst the gleaming suits, the glint of chrome, and the towering high-rises, his thoughts wandered deep into the embrace of ancient trees. "I ventured to the site," he declared. "I encountered the land, and the souls who call it home. It's a realm untamed. It brims with possibility, overflowing with untold stories. To build upon it would not be an act of creation." He nodded, a weight of understanding in his gaze. "You'll be leaving behind so much." He made a choice, one that echoed in the silence of the boardroom. With a firm grip on his folder, he turned on his heel and strode out, leaving behind the weight of expectations and the glint of ambition, never once glancing back. As the evening deepened, he and Sophie busily filled their bags, her gaze lifting to meet his, a smile breaking across her face that seemed to light up the dim room. "Where are we headed, Daddy?" Alex closed her bag with a swift motion, his fingers brushing through her hair softly, a fleeting moment of tenderness amidst the chaos. With a gleam in her eye, she hugged her raccoon closer, a smile spreading across her face as she declared, "We're returning to the place where we truly felt alive, back home." Alex cast a lingering gaze over the gleaming surfaces of the apartment, a sense of finality washing over him. For the first time in years, the act of leaving felt like a return to something he had longed for. The forest had transformed from a mere refuge into a sanctuary, a place where every rustle of leaves whispered secrets and every shadow held a story. It was home now, alive with the pulse of nature and the promise of adventure. Weeks after their return, Alex and Sophie found themselves entwined in a rhythm that was at once strange and profoundly instinctive. He had exchanged the towering heights of his downtown high-rise for the humble embrace of a small cabin, nestled not far from Luna's. The structure stood humbly, embraced by the towering trees, its wide windows inviting the outside world in. The roof, a testament to his labor, bore the marks of his own hands, each patch a story of dedication and resilience. It did not linger in silence. It pulsed with life. Sophie stepped into the quaint village school, a place buzzing with the whispers of new beginnings and untold stories waiting to unfold. Every day, she returned home with leaves nestled in her backpack, her eyes sparkling with tales of hiking adventures, seed-sorting escapades, and a girl named Juniper who possessed the enchanting ability to converse with frogs. Her laughter erupted, a wild and untamed sound that echoed with freedom. Alex toiled away in the solitude of his home office, his architecture firm, granting him the rare privilege to consult from a distance, weaving his designs into the fabric of the digital world. He envisioned nature centers, parks, and green campuses, pouring his passion into every project he undertook. As the clock struck the end of the week, he closed his laptop, shedding the weight of urban life, and embraced the wild embrace of the woods once more. Luna had transformed as well. She had turned the weathered barn behind her cabin into a vibrant, open-air art studio, where creativity flowed like the wind through its rustic beams. Children from neighboring villages gathered, their laughter echoing as they wielded charcoal like magic wands, blending berry pigments into vibrant hues and transforming leaves into canvases with their tiny, eager fingers. She named it Nest and Fern, and when her laughter filled the classroom, it echoed like the whispering wind weaving through birch trees. Labels were a silent specter between them, unspoken yet ever-present. Alex never forced the issue, yet the very essence of their existence whispered a singular truth. They were a family, bound not by name, but by the pulse of their shared moments, the weight of their presence, and the power of their choice. Each Saturday morning, they strolled through the bustling village market, the air thick with the scent of fresh produce and the vibrant chatter of vendors and townsfolk alike. With determination in her eyes, Sophie sprinted forward, the oversized basket straining against her small frame, her heart racing with excitement as she sought to assist Luna in selecting the ripest apples and fragrant herbs. Alex strode through the bustling market, bread and honey cradled in his arms. He offered polite nods to the vendors, their voices a backdrop to the whispers of the townsfolk, who referred to him as the city man who chose to remain. The air was thick with stories, and he was woven into their fabric. On that particular morning, the square buzzed with life, alive with the vibrant energy of a harvest fair. Musicians strummed their instruments atop weathered crates, while children twirled and leaped barefoot, their laughter mingling with the vibrant melodies. Couples meandered through a labyrinth of colorful stands, each adorned with exquisite handmade scarves and shimmering stone jewelry, lost in the magic of the moment. Alex instinctively reached for Luna's hand, but then hesitated, caught in a moment of uncertainty. Yet Luna stood resolute, unwavering in her decision. With a determined grip, she intertwined her fingers with his, sealing their connection in that moment. It was driven by something deeper, a force that transcended mere balance or politeness. It was not to hide from the throngs of people. It was a bold proclamation. Eyes shifted, bodies pivoted. Several heads dipped in agreement. Some wore smiles that danced like flickering flames in the shadows. Soft murmurs floated through the air. Yet all Alex could focus on was the alluring curve of Luna's lips, the serene calm that danced in her eyes. She had always shied away from the spotlight, preferring the quiet corners of life over the grand gestures that others reveled in. She constructed barriers out of instinct, seldom allowing anyone to breach her carefully guarded space. Yet today, in this vast expanse, she grasped his hand as if it were the most instinctive act imaginable. He tightened his grip ever so slightly. "Are you absolutely certain?" Luna gazed at him, her voice a gentle whisper that hung in the air. "I am not a mere leaf tossed by the wind, Alex. I decide the soil in which I flourish, and I have made my choice." Sophie sprinted forward, her cheeks stuffed with warm, spiced cinnamon bread, the sweet aroma swirling around her like a comforting embrace. "Could we also indulge in some pumpkin tea?" Alex's laughter echoed through the room, a sound that danced on the air and drew attention like a beacon in the night. "If you have the strength to bear the weight of the bag." Luna bent down, her fingers deftly guiding the strap as she helped Sophie secure it over her shoulder. As the trio strolled through the bustling market, their hands brimming with treasures and their spirits soaring, Alex suddenly felt a profound revelation wash over him. He had devoted the majority of his existence to crafting for eternity, shaping stone and steel, forging foundations that would endure the test of time. Yet, this delicate connection that intertwined their lives, it was the most profound truth he had ever encountered. No amount of concrete could bind a family in unity. Yet, love, nurtured in the shadows, untamed and true, could withstand the fiercest storms. The forest was silent, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Under the towering tree, where their fates first intertwined, The very same sentinel that had once silently observed a stranded SUV and a woman clutching a lantern against the tempest, now adorned with wildflower garlands and flowing ribbons. Linen whispered tales of love and resilience. Wooden benches stood sentinel around the natural clearing, inviting whispers of stories untold. The air was thick with the intoxicating scents of pine and lavender, intertwined with a whisper of wood smoke that danced through the atmosphere. The wedding unfolded far from the glossy pages of magazines. Though the room lacked velvet drapes and champagne towers, it was alive with the sound of laughter. In the heart of the village, the air was alive with the enchanting sounds of a fiddle and the rhythmic beat of a hand drum, as friends gathered to weave a tapestry of music that echoed through the night. Smiles lit up the faces, hands intertwined, and children twirled joyfully, their bare feet sinking into the soft green moss beneath them. Luna stood in a delicate off-white dress, lovingly stitched by a neighbor and transformed with the vibrant hues of pressed flowers. Her hair flowed in a loose braid, adorned with delicate fern sprigs and the soft blue of forget-me-nots, whispering secrets of the forest. She had never envisioned herself standing at the altar, adorned in white, the world around her fading into a blur of anticipation and dreams. Not at all. Not until this very moment. Alex faced her, his light linen shirt clinging to his frame, sleeves rolled up to reveal sun-kissed skin. His boots, caked with mud from the trail, hinted at the adventure that lay behind him. His gaze was locked onto hers, an unbreakable connection that pulsed with intensity. Sophie, adorned in a delicate light green dress, held a folded paper tightly in both hands, her heart racing with anticipation. With a voice that was small, yet unwavering, she stepped boldly between them. "Today," she declared, "I want to express my gratitude to Luna for being my foundation, for guiding me to create with mud and to hear the whispers of birds, and to Dad." She gazed up at Alex, her voice quivering with raw emotion. Dad once crafted sprawling cities adorned with shimmering lights and towering structures. But now, he creates something far more significant. He crafted a sanctuary within the depths of my heart. Alex smiled, though a tightness gripped his throat. "My heart is entwined with yours, and I pray this tree stands as a guardian of our shared tales." Luna sank to her knees, enveloping her in a fierce embrace. "It has already begun, dear wildflower." Hand in hand they stood before the elder of the village, an ancient woman whose clear eyes sparkled with wisdom, and whose voice flowed like riverstone. She blessed their union with sacred words, echoes of a lineage that spanned generations. "Marriage," she declared, "is not forged from rings or vows uttered in lavish chambers. It is forged in the warmth of firewood, piled high for another, in the secret clasp of hands, when the world turns away, in each quiet decision to remain." Alex turned to Luna, his gaze intense as he grasped her hands firmly. "You once told me I should rebuild from within," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, meant solely for her ears. "In that moment, I was unaware of the how, but you, Luna, emerged as my blueprint, my guiding star." Luna's eyes sparkled with an enchanting light. "I once believed I was merely roots," she whispered, entwined in the earth, tethered, fearful of the vast sky above. "But with you I discovered something beyond." Her eyes flickered to Sophie, then returned to Alex, her voice unwavering. "I discovered wings." Cheers erupted like a thunderstorm as the elder proclaimed them husband and wife. As their lips met, a gentle warmth enveloped them, the air thick with the earthy aroma of pine, and the distant echoes of children's laughter dancing around them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the celebration transformed, casting shadows that danced with the fading light. Lanterns hung from the branches, their gentle light spilling over plates brimming with fresh bread, wild berries, and steaming forest stew. In a mesmerizing display, Sophie twirled and leaped in a butterfly dance alongside two other girls, their movements a symphony of grace and beauty. Meanwhile, Luna's art students, filled with adulation, presented her with a magnificent gift. A colossal canvas adorned with a vibrant painting of her cabin, surrounded by a riot of colors from a garden in full bloom. Alex perched beside Luna on the weathered wooden swing, nestled beneath the sprawling tree, their fingers entwined in a delicate embrace. "You know," he said, his voice low and heavy with realization. This wasn't in any of my plans. Luna nestled closer, her head finding a resting place on his shoulder. A moment suspended in time. Good, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. The best things never are. The leaves whispered secrets as a gentle breeze wove through the branches overhead. As twilight descended, a hush enveloped the scene, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. In the company of those they cherished and who cherished them back, it was as if the very forest exhaled a deep, satisfied sigh, resonating with the harmony of their bond. As the stars began to twinkle into existence, Luna gazed up at the towering tree, a smile spreading across her face. I once stayed because I was afraid to leave, she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of unspoken fears. Now I remain, for this is the place where my heart has decisively chosen to dwell. Alex pressed his lips gently against her forehead, a tender gesture that spoke volumes in the silence between them. Then let's keep building, he whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence, as if the very air around them held its breath in anticipation. Not cities, she smirked, a spark of mischief dancing in her eyes. No, he declared. Home is right here, and beneath the branches that had once cradled silence, a new promise resonated, a truth that family transcended blood and blueprints, forged instead by the conscious choice to embrace one another time and again, where the heart finds its true home. If this tale ignited a spark within you and revealed that family can be discovered in the most unexpected places, often where our souls find solace, then you have arrived at the very moment you were meant to embrace. We are grateful for your presence as we embark on Alex, Luna, and Sophie's extraordinary adventure, a tale that weaves through silence into melody and solitude into the warmth of belonging. Let their tale echo softly in the hearts of those who listen. In the depths of the forest, where shadows dance and whispers of the wind beckon, losing our way can lead us to the very treasures we seek, hidden beneath the canopy of ancient trees. For those who seek tales that mend the spirit, ignite the imagination, and linger in the heart long after the final word, join us at Soul-Stirring Stories. Discover a world of poignant stories waiting for you, just a click away. Remember to like, share, and ring the notification bell, for you never know when a tale might unfold that could transform your day, or even your life. Until we meet again in the next tale, where the soul intertwines with its echo.